Hello. Today we are going to talk about how to incorporate multicultural education into a secondary math class. First, let us define what multicultural education is. The book Multicultural Education in a Pluralistic Society defines multicultural education as an educational strategy in which students' cultures are used to develop effective classroom instruction and school environments. It supports and extends the concepts of culture, diversity, equality, social justice, and democracy into the school setting. The reason why multicultural education is important is because it allows students to connect what they are learning to their own experiences and backgrounds. I wanted to talk about this subject because some people think that it is impossible or very challenging to have a multicultural education setting in a math class. While it may be difficult at times, it is something that can be done and is also a very important task. Many students may become discouraged when it comes to math and may just give up on it. If teachers are able to connect math to their lives, students will be more likely to have a positive attitude and would have the chance to be more successful in these classes. Another reason I want to talk about this is because whenever the topic of multicultural education is covered, the examples given usually are not applicable for secondary math classes. The majority of examples pertain to younger students, and the ones that can be used in high school usually are for history or social studies classes. So I wanted to give examples of how to incorporate multicultural education into secondary math classes. The first example that teachers can discuss mathematicians from different races and different countries. A lot of time, people view math as Eurocentric, meaning a lot of mathematicians come from Europe. This could cause students from different backgrounds to feel disconnected and lose interest in math. That is why it is important to discuss mathematicians from different ethnic groups, nationalities, and genders. This will allow all students to see that mathematicians come from everywhere, and hopefully students will gain an interest in math. One example would be to discuss Benjamin Banneker, who was an African-American mathematician. He was a self-taught mathematician and created numerous mathematical puzzles. Students could try to solve some of the puzzles that he created after learning about him. It is also important to discuss some female mathematicians as well. Many girls are uninterested in math, and perhaps if they were to learn about a few female mathematicians, they would gain some interest. One example would be to talk about Emmy Noether, who is known for her contributions to abstract algebra and physics. She was also described by Albert Einstein as the most important woman in the history of mathematics. Learning about mathematicians from all around the world will show students that they can do anything and will hopefully encourage them to do their best in school. The next few examples show how we can use statistics to connect math to students' lives. This can be done several ways. Instead of just using random numbers, teachers can use examples that better relate to students' lives. One way is to use sports when discussing the mean, median, range, and so on. Many students play sports in high school or enjoy watching them. Teachers could tell students to research their favorite player in a certain sport and look at a certain stat. For example, students could look at their favorite baseball player and see how many home runs they have hit in their career. The class would then use these numbers to determine the mean, median, and so on. This can be done in any sport, such as goals scored in soccer or hockey, points scored in basketball, or touchdowns scored in football. This would keep the students more interested rather than looking at numbers that have no meaning. It also allows them to choose their favorite player, which should be someone from their home country or someone that shares their history. Another way to use statistics to connect the students' lives would be to show how we can use statistics to study social or cultural issues. Using statistics is a great way for students to examine cultural groups. Teachers could use statistics to show the different nationalities that they may have at the school. Another example would be to have the students fill out a survey on certain topics concerning race and ethnicity, problems teenagers have, future goals, and so on. The teacher would then show the national statistics on the same survey, and the students would be able to compare the results to their own survey. This will let them connect their own feelings and views to students all around the country. The next example would be when discussing patterns and symmetry. Teachers could use patterns on clothing or items from around the world. Examples of this would be to look at items such as clothes, rugs, or any decorations from African tribes. The students could also be asked to bring in items that the whole class could observe. This activity would allow students to see the different clothes worn throughout the world, and would also give them a chance to show off some of their own cultural items from their homes. Another example would be to connect the math problems to the students' lives. This is sometimes easier said than done, but it can still be accomplished. One way this could be done would be to have the students draw a map of the neighborhood they are from. Using the map, students can learn a lot about math. They can observe the points, lines, rays, and segments, and the relationships between them, such as being parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting. They can also learn about different angles from the map. Another idea would be to use the students' families to learn about percentages, fractions, and decimals. Several questions could be examined, such as how many family members live in the same state, how many live in the same country, how many speak English as a first language, how many different languages are spoken in the family, and so on. The students would then use math to observe the results and could compare them with the rest of the class. These are just a few ideas of how we can connect math to student lives, and there are many more. Teachers just need to be creative and have a solid relationship with their students. One project that could be used in a geometry class would be for students to create a shed or building of some sort. The students would use math to create the building, and another part of the project would be for students to add furniture, decorations, and whatever else they want in the shed. They would have a budget that they would have to stay under, adding more math to the project. This would give students a chance to add items from their own cultures to show where they come from. The students would share the projects, which would allow other students to see the different backgrounds of their peers. The last example we are going to look at is how math is connected to some famous buildings throughout the world. This will show students that math can be seen everywhere throughout the world. Starting from left to right on the first row, we have the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. There is plenty of math behind it, such as it being connected to pi and the Pythagorean theorem. The next picture is of the Taj Mahal in India. This building is a great example of line symmetry. If there was a line right down the middle of the building, we could see both sides are exactly the same. The next picture is of the Eden Project, which is a greenhouse in the United Kingdom. You can see from the picture that there are several shapes used in this building. There are geodesic domes, which have hexagonal and pentagonal cells. The Fibonacci sequence, which is a sequence in which every number is the sum of the previous two, is demonstrated throughout the inside of the building as well. Next, we have the picture of the Chichen Itza, located in Mexico. This was built by the Mayan civilization, who were known for being great mathematicians. There are plenty of interesting facts about this building, such as there are 365 steps, one for each day of the year. The next picture is of the Sagrada Familia in Spain. There is a lot of math behind the building, including a lot of geometric forms, such as hyperboloids and paraboloids. We then have a picture of the Parthenon, which is located in Greece. There are plenty of ratios that can be seen in this building, such as the horizontal and vertical proportions and the spacing between the columns. The golden ratio, which is a special number that is approximately 1.618, is believed to be used throughout the structure. Lastly, we have a teepee, and we can see the shape of a teepee is similar to a cone, so we can examine the dimension of different shapes through buildings. So those are some examples of how we can connect math to buildings all over the world. A project that a teacher could assign would be for teachers to find an interesting building from their country of choice and research the different math involved with the building. The students could then share their findings with the rest of the class, and all the students would be able to gain information on different buildings throughout the world. So hopefully, you gained some ideas on how multicultural education can be incorporated into secondary math classes. Thank you.